Hello, good afternoon, and it's another episode of the Author Spotlight where we get to interview authors that are making it happen, and we find out their highs, their lows, and what they wish they'd known before. And today is no different. And for those of you that think we were going live, we've decided to come on early because we're just so keen and so excited. It's not 3 o'clock, it's really just after 2. So without any further ado, please welcome on Della, and we're going to find out what her experience of an author's journey has been. So Della, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks, Cheryl.
So you're the up-and-coming author, and I'm going to pop it on the bottom here so people can see it, of the book Get the Job You Really Want in a Post-Pandemic World. Gosh, that was a bit of a fraudulent slip, but yes, it does feel maybe. Right, let's do that again. Get the job you really want in a post-pandemic world. And we will share the link, that's it here. I'll pop it there for a moment. But just tell me a little bit about your journey to becoming. Journey is my metaphor, actually. Becoming an author for you has been like what?
Well, I have had 25 years in corporate experience, and then I took redundancy 3 years ago. I've always wanted to write, and I have been doing coaching. And some of the coaching I was doing was career coaching, something, again, that I'd done all the way through my corporate world. And I decided that actually the systems that I used, the coaching questions and the process that I took people through was something that I wanted to share. And I kept thinking about it. And then someone said to me, "Oh, come on, Della, you need to just get on with it." And then I was introduced to Karen, and I signed up to her system, and that gave me the kind of impetus to just get on with it, really, and get going.
And how long ago was that? When did you sign up? And
it's pretty much a year. So I think it was about last May time that I joined.
And that's the Smart Author system, isn't it, that she takes people through. So that's giving you the impetus, and you're due to be published in just a couple of weeks. You'll have to come back on and tell us about it afterwards, because I know that day is quite magical. But why did you write this book then? If 3 years ago you've always wanted to write a book, why this book?
Well, I think that some of what I talk about in this book really resonates with me. So I'm a coach and a career coach, but the whole get the job you really want really means something to me. I needed to change jobs a few times, partly because of health reasons. So I suffered from burnout when I was quite senior. I got made redundant when I was pregnant, had the more recent redundancy. And I've seen lots of other people who just are having all these problems. And I had to kind of come up with my own system of making sure that I was actually doing what I really wanted, not what society said I should be doing, or not what my career brain thought I should be doing next, but what I wanted to do right now. And I'm also a massive advocate for flexible working. I'd set up remote working teams before the pandemic was even kind of an idea. And what I've seen with people going through their job searches at the moment is that so many people are being put under pressure to work in a certain way. And as the world sort of comes back to normal, businesses are changing how they want to recruit, and people are working out, do I actually want to work 5 days a week in the office? I quite like working from home. I've been able to prove that I can work from home. And so it just felt that people needed some support to work in a way that they wanted to do. And that's certainly something I needed to do myself over the last sort of 20-25 years.
Yeah. So it sounds like the book's going to be guiding them to advocate for what they want and what they need, and getting that clarity around it. And probably nothing to do. This is just downright curiosity on my part. Are you finding there's just as many people that don't want to be left working from home, that actually, we were okay putting up with it for a crisis, and it's okay if we choose to do it because our family circumstances work, but actually this isn't a great idea for all of us to be working and living in the same space 24/7 a day. And so what sort of will the book cover those kinds of things? Is it covering those where you just literally better speak up for what you need and want in the workplace?
Absolutely. I think just as, a one size fits all approach isn't what anybody wants. So what the main thing I think that people want is choice. And so the main criteria, I think, is that for people to work out what it is they do want, whether that is an office job, or maybe people want more travel now, or they want to be in London, they want to be around people. That's just as important as saying, well, actually, I've proved that I can do all of my job at home, and I much prefer it. And certainly when I ran a remote working team, there were people who definitely always wanted to come into the office because they didn't have the right space. They had lots of family, kids running around at home, or their anxiety, social sort of mental health meant that they needed to be in. But equally, we had people who were, suffered from anxiety and depression, who found it much more easy to log on from home. So this is about aligning your job for what you want right now and trying to find the right culture, the right boss, the right organization, the right location, the right hours, that you actually want to have. And I think so many times I've seen people who do, maybe you get made redundant and you are thinking, well, I've just got to go and put the CV out there. You get the scattergun approach, hundreds of CVs go out, but actually half of them, maybe majority of them, you wouldn't want anyway. So I believe really that it's about trying to really focus your search on what it is you want. And if that is all office or half office or all at home, then it's really important to sort of dig deep and understand what you want, why you want that, and why it's important. And then you can start to find a company culture and an organization and a location that actually matches what it is you want.
And I guess that there's a big thing I know for me personally, being someone, I've got a husband and a son. We're all now working from home online 24/7. And I don't think I'd fully appreciated that my traveling to meetings and training was the only time I was getting on my own. And so I think it's a really important time post the pandemic. I think I agree with doing it anyway, and I spend a lot of time myself helping people find out what works for them. But post pandemic, I think people accepted a lot of things because there was no choice. And now we've got to come back out and actually clarify what does work for us and what doesn't, isn't it? And being sure, because it's that alone time in the car. Commuting can work, but then maybe after 2 years of doing it, you won't want to do it. So I guess they're also looking for flexibility, that I can say this is what I want, but we're also going to have a discussion when it stops working.
Yes.
Can we change it? Because
Absolutely.
we change, don't we, as our situation changes.
We do. And that was a really important discovery for me personally, because I think that the timing is all important. So I talk very much about what it is you want right now. I thought I would have perhaps more time to myself now that my kids are a bit older, but actually I'm discovering that teenagers need just as much support as toddlers, and certainly teens haven't necessarily come out of the pandemic well, with kind of exams being cancelled and difficult transitions to university or school. And so actually, although you think you might have been able to do certain things at certain times, it's not necessarily the case. And if you've got a dog now, I think millions of people got dogs during lockdown, and suddenly you think, well, I can't now go into the office 5 days a week because I've got this dog to look after, and I don't want the carpets chewed up. So I think people's priorities change. I think the other big thing during the pandemic was, of course, that our health suddenly became the top priority. Lots of people lost their lives, and lots of people had to care for people and were really worried about people. And I think a lot of people have thought life's too short. Life's too short to be traveling 2 hours on a train, stuffed into somebody's armpit. I don't want that anymore. And if I can do something that's a bit closer to home and get 10 hours a week back, then I prefer to do that. So I think that all of those, there's lots and lots of different variables. And in the book, I sort of talk people through a bit of a discovery about why it is they're looking, what's important to them, and then a whole series of exercises. So it's a workbook style book. Then there's a series of exercises that really help people dig into what's important to them. And then they can start to build their own kind of ideal job checklist. To start checking, do I even want to apply for this job?
Well, you might as well save your energy, haven't you? Because I think that's because you have to deal with the rejection enough anyway, and when you're in the job market. So why put yourself through that whole lot of conversations where you you're kind of half hoping they don't accept you because you're wasting both your time and resources. So as an author, then starting a year ago, you've obviously you've signed up with Karen, you've got the support system in place. But what's the most important thing that you've learned as an author?
That you need to actually prioritize the fact that you're writing a book. I think I perhaps went into it thinking I can just knock this up, or it would be a hobby thing. But if you're going to take it seriously, I think you actually do need to prioritize the time. And I had to block out time, and I had to really make a plan. Now I'm a deadline person, so that actually worked for me. Having set times when I worked with Karen to have kind of the check-ins, but I just realized that I had to prioritize it and I had to plan for it, and I had to just get on and do it. At some point you actually have to sit down and write.
Yes. Yeah. So prioritizing, and you are somebody that it sounds like you already were a deadline person. Is there anything you'd wish you'd known before you began?
I think I probably would have liked to have had a better understanding of how much time it takes at this end part. So it's all very well writing a draft, and actually I had a draft that went out to peer review just before Christmas, and then the post-written part actually takes quite a lot of time. The kind of number of reviews that you're having to go through in terms of edits, and then copywriting review, and then getting the publishing actual sorted. There are lots and lots of steps, and I hadn't probably appreciated how many steps there were to getting it from just having my first draft of a manuscript to then it becoming a thing, and becoming something that's going to go on a shelf.
And are you conscious now, if you were to share it with the I was going to say readers, but we're not, we're an audience, audio people, of how many steps was involved, and what sort of time did you need to allow for that part of the process?
Well, I think so. It went, so the first manuscript went out to peer reviewers just before Christmas, and actually that I was really surprised how promptly everybody came back. So I gave people 3 weeks over Christmas, which meant that I could have some time off, which was great. And they had time to read it. But I was really careful to set deadlines and things. So I got that back. I then probably had to give myself another couple of weeks to review all of that. That actually took longer than I thought. My first instinct, of course, then was also to look at all the criticisms and the edits, rather than actually there's a lot of praise, there's a lot of good stuff, and a lot of, oh, we really like it. So it was my daughter actually who made me read it back in a positive way. So that was really good. And then we went to the first draft went to the copy editor. That came back. I had meetings at the same time with the publisher. I know Karen uses Sam Swap Books, and we had a bit of a parallel process going on. And again, I think if I was to write a second book, I'd probably understand that process a bit more clearly. So Louise, as the copy editor, sends stuff to Sam, and there's a bit of a funnel going on. So I think that went through 2 or 3 iterations. Now the final draft is with Sam, and it's all been uploaded onto Amazon and Ingram Spark. But that, again, there's steps to go through there, just to get it out. So I'm waiting now for my test copy to arrive, and then we hit the button.
Yeah. Excellent. And I think it's really important you said about your daughter kept you got you to reframe the point, because it's choosing who you send your first copy, especially your first book, because it is, I don't know what that was like for you when you had to send it out for that, what was that was like, what for you when you send that book out for peer review that first time?
It was I felt sick. I genuinely thought, oh God, people are going to read it, people are going to have a comment. There were parts of the writing where I thought, oh, surely everyone does this, or surely everyone knows that. And actually one of the best bits of feedback that I got was from someone who I really respected, who I used to work with, was into lots of, you know, career recruitment stuff, senior person. And even they came back and said, oh, I never would have thought to do that. You know, this is gold, she called it. And I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So not everybody does that. Not everybody knows that. So that is why I'm writing it, and that is why I'm wanting to share it. So I think it's really important to take the positive stuff out and remember that. So the editing you're making, the other thing I would say is the editing is all a choice. So there were a couple of comments that came back where the reviewer was clearly not on the same page as me. And I just had to kind of not completely discount it, but I had to really think about it and decide, am I going to make a change because of that person? Because I think 8 people reviewed it for me. Only one person had made that comment. So I had to weigh that up. The other top tip that my daughter did, and she does writing at uni, and she asked me to rank my reviewers in terms of how important they were, or how much like they were like my ideal client. And so again, that meant that I could say, well, that person's feedback is the most important and the most relevant, and the last on the list, interesting, but am I going to change my whole book? Basically?
And I think there's one of the hidden benefits of writing a book, is that you have to check in with yourself, what's important to you, and what's your opinion, what's your experience, because there's always going to be a multitude of other people who see it, hear it, feel it in a different perspective. So I think it's lovely to hear you got that support. And it is that bit, I often, that blur feeling of sending it out. I just want to say, take my hat off to you that you gave them 3 weeks, because I remember my first book, I said, I lined it all up, gave them loads of notice, and I said, right, you're going to have it this weekend. And I was there Monday morning, like very disappointed that they didn't instantly come back to me. And so it was and I think part of that is because I just wanted to get over and done with. I just wanted to hear it. And so just to add in, one of the things that Karen and I often talk about, if you're new to having stuff fed back and you're new to having that sort of critiquing, it's worth getting your first couple of people to be cheerleader kind of people that are going to give you some, literally go through and go, what are the nuggets? What have I loved? What do I do? Particularly existing clients, maybe who know you. Then you go for another level where your system goes, do you know what, most of this is okay. The next level is just to make it better. So it's really great to know that you had that support. And it sounds like you've got a real gem there with your daughter as a resource to help guide you in how to do it. So it's absolutely brilliant to hear that.
That's really
so good. If it's not that, was there a lowest point on this through the process? You know, what was the lowest point as an author?
Yes, there was a low point, and that was when I woke up one morning and I thought I was writing the wrong book. And I thought, oh God, I'm writing the wrong book. And because a lot of what I do is all about hybrid working, flexible working. So I coach businesses as well. So I don't just do career coaching for individuals. I work with businesses and do leadership coaching, hybrid working, and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm really passionate about flexible working, as we've just sort of discussed. And I thought, well, I want that element to be in the book, but maybe I should be writing a book about hybrid working. And then I actually took advantage of my emergency call with Karen and said, help. And she basically got me to sort of really think about how it was relevant. And that's kind of where the post-pandemic world bit came in. This isn't just a career coaching book that you can pick up. It is relevant for now because the world is completely changing, and companies and people are all changing the way they work. So there was that moment of, oh God, all this stuff I've already written, I might be binning that. So I think I did have a few days of thinking, having to really mull that over.
Yeah.
What is it I'm doing?
Well, and that must have been really tough as well, if you're that far through the process of getting it written. Because I know I've worked with Karen before, where people at the very start were really struggling to get started, and it's because unknowingly or unconsciously they had more than one book to write, and so when they were writing, they couldn't stay clear, they couldn't keep the structure, because it was 2 different audiences and 2 different similar processes maybe to solve the problem, but the language and the stories and the examples were going to be very, very different. And I think when you can clarify in your own mind they're two different books, then you could start parking that for book number 2 or book number 3 or 4 or whatever it is that's going there. So yes, I can completely understand, and I'm sure there's plenty of people listening to this that will feel like that. Now, we have got a hi to both of you on but it says Facebook user, so if you are still here, it says 0 people watching, so they might have popped off.
Okay.
But please feel free to say who you are, and if you've got any questions for Della, please do let us know. So again, but what I'm hearing is that you had the support there with Karen, because I think that's when so many authors they get that moment of doubt and they don't have someone to clarify it with. And one of the things I know that Karen's particularly good is really training your attention and keep asking the question about where you want your business to go.
Yes.
And like you say, what is going to make you stand out? What's relevant for now? What's the most timely thing? And sometimes we, from a cathartic point of view, we might want to write one kind of book. But actually, when you stay strategic and you keep on track with your business, there's another kind of book that needs to be written. And she's really good. One of our clients I interviewed a few months ago, she said it was like herding the cats of ideas, trying to get it into a funnel. So I'm so glad to hear that you had your daughter, your peer review, and Karen there as a support. So what's been your biggest success to date?
Well, actually, it's just finished. I just did a crowdfunder, again, inspired by a talk that Karen had done within the Smart Author System program. And I went to a talk, I can't remember the chap's name, but he talked a lot about his crowdfunder and how it had, given him some funds to move forward. And I thought, I think I can do that. So what I did was a buy one, donate one scheme. And the idea being that, yes, you want the career coaching book for yourself, but we're going to donate one to a job seeker in need. And I worked with a couple of partners within, I'm in Milton Keynes. So a couple of business partners in Milton Keynes and Northampton who support career coaching for job seekers in need. And the YMCA here and a hospice who will sell the books in their shop. And I set up this scheme and actually raised nearly £3,000 before the book is even live and published. So that's been amazing, and it's meant that we got to about 154 books will be donated as a result. So that means that will go out, and obviously there's that sort of altruistic reason to donate it to job seekers in need. But I have to say it's been absolutely massive PR and great publicity. I had however many supporters who pledged through the crowdfunder, but obviously I was posting on LinkedIn and Facebook all the time, my newsletter and stuff that went out. So even those people who didn't actually buy or pledge right there, then the people are in no doubt that I'm writing a book. So when it comes out on Amazon and whatever next month, then hopefully then more people will think, I'll just buy it.
That's absolutely fantastic. So I'm so excited and I can't wait to hear more. I'm sure I'll be on the list from Karen when it actually goes live. So I can't wait for that. And please feel free to come back on the Author Spotlight once you've published and tell us about the journey afterwards, because, a bit like that editing bit, there's another bit that keeps on going now with that book, but nobody tells you about that at the beginning, because I think some of us just wouldn't get started if we did that. So you've got the joy of keeping the ongoing marketing, and I look forward to seeing what happens next. So thank you so much for joining us. So just let's pop these details on the bottom again, just before we go off air. So the book is called Get the Job You Really Want in the Post-Pandemic World. And if you want to find out more, you can go to Della's book website here. So it's dellajudd.co.uk/book resources. So please check out those details there. So is the crowdfunding shut now? So they can't add to that anymore?
Crowdfunding closed yesterday, actually, as it happened. But on the book resources page on the site, you can sign up to my newsletter. And then as soon as the book comes out and I've got links to share on Amazon and things, then you'll be on my newsletter list.
Fabulous. Thank you so much again for being with us today, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Take care. So yet another fabulous author that's done it in a year. And yes, I know that you know me, I'm doing a bit in a longer scenic journey, but I have taken note that I need to make a deadline. So thanks there. And so did the last author that came on. So I feel like the universe is sending me some messages that I need to do something about it. So what do you need to do to make your book happen? Have a think about what you've been saying, what you've been promising yourself to do, because your audience is out there waiting for you to talk to them about the solutions that you can give them to make the difference in their lives. And so if you're struggling, don't forget to get in touch with Karen Williams at Libertas.com and find out how you can be a smart author and get your book written soon. Speak to you again soon. Take care. Thanks for listening.